Welcome back. You're right on time for our special feature this evening. Just 1 year since President William Ruto took over the reins of power, his administration has been fighting hard to extinguish unwanted flames arising from corruption allegations and scandals, some of which have led to the suspension of some senior government officials across various sectors. We take a look at some of those scandals with our reporter Theo Masharia.
Zakayo asuke chini. Hii maandamano hatutaki mambo ya break.
Na nimeambia mambo ni mangapi? Matatu.
We are talking about the unity of the people of Mount Kenya.
At the beginning of 2023, the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority KEMSA once again found itself hitting the headlines after mismanaging a 3.7 billion shillings tender for the supply of treated mosquito nets, a blunder whose ripple effects saw thousands of households in the country exposed to malaria on account of this expensive fault by KEMSA. In this scandal, a Global Funds audit revealed that 2 companies were awarded the tender despite not meeting the qualifications. There were multiple procurement gaps, lack of uniformity in identifying the winning and losing bids. Investigations further revealed a possible tilting of rules in favor of few bidders after KEMSA's tendering process review differed significantly from the Global Funds review. The 3 firms Polymers PVT, Shobika Implex, and Partech East Africa that made it to KEMSA's shortlist submitted incomplete document sets, and therefore this meant they should have been dropped at the preliminary stages. KEMSA still remains tight-lipped on how these companies were shortlisted for the tender, and the only firm that made KEMSA's requirement for evaluation of the tender was a company named Tianjin Yorkul and Premium Movers, but shockingly enough, the firm was kicked out by KEMSA on grounds of failing to provide a manufacturer's authorization, and the tender awarded to Partech East Africa, a firm that submitted incomplete documents, a move that KEMSA gave a blind eye. Counties that suffered a blow due to KEMSA's mistake include Narok, Trans Nzoia, Nandi, Elgeyo Marakwet, Homa Bay, West Pokot, Taita Taveta, Siaya, Mombasa, Lamu, Marsabit, Turkana, Kilifi, Kwale, Busia, Baringo, Kirinyaga, Migori, Mombasa, Nyamira, Uasin Gishu, Kisii, Kisumu, and Tana River counties. From the mess, President William Ruto and the CS Health swung into action and sent Josephine Mboro, the PS Public Health, packing together with the entire KEMSA board and other KEMSA officials and staff working under the National Malaria Program. A new CEO, Irongo Nyakera, and also a new board was later reconstituted by orders from President William Ruto to streamline affairs at KEMSA, even as the Senate and National Assembly continued to gather dust on the shelves and the beneficiaries of the haste yet to be brought to book. Disappearance of 1,000 metric tons of burnt sugar from a warehouse also shocked the headlines in April this year. Thousands of Kenyans were at risk of consuming contaminated sugar after 20,000 bags of sugar of 50 kilograms each disappeared mysteriously from a warehouse in Thika, where it was stored. It was discovered that this sugar arrived in the country in June 2018 from Zimbabwe and was expired by this year. Upon arrival at the Mombasa port, the sugar was subjected to several checks and was found to be non-compliant with Kenyan standards. KEBS guideline states that whenever goods imported to the country do not meet the required standards, they are to be reshipped or destroyed at the expense of the importer. Well, this was not the case here, since the contaminated sugar was transported to Thika for storage. The Kenya Bureau of Standards swiftly wrote to the KRA that it had reviewed the destruction of the contraband sugar and was seeking its destruction through its conversion to ethanol by distillation. KRA and KEBS later approved the release of the contaminated sugar with an agreement that all due taxes were to be paid in 30 days after the release. A team of DCI officers, multi-agency officers and KEBS inspection officer was sent to Thika Makongeni area to check whether the sugar was still in store. Upon arrival, and to their shock, the team found the warehouse empty, and the seals on the warehouse had been changed and were not the original ones used. This later turned into an inter-agency war, as KEBS now blamed KRA over disappearance of the condemned sugar, which was being suspected of being already in the market. During this period, the prices of sugar in the market shot to a record high of 450 shillings per 2 kilograms packet after the duty-free import window was closed. The acting managing director KEBS Esther Ngare explained that after learning of the disappearance of the sugar, KEBS sanctioned a countrywide market surveillance activity to remove the contaminated sugar from the market, and out of this, KEBS seized 52 tons of sugar from more than 300 outlets across the country. In response to the serious allegations, President William Ruto authorized the suspension of several government officers, including KEBS Managing Director Bernard Njeraine, pending thorough investigations by the DCI. The puzzle of how the contaminated sugar disappeared still remains a mystery, only known to a few people. And just after President William Ruto initiated the subsidized fertilizer program that was aimed at providing long-term solutions to fluctuating food prices in the country, a major scandal came knocking that threatened the existence of the program. Mashambani Farm Inputs Eldoret Limited was awarded a 10.2 billion shillings tender to supply fertilizer to the Kenya National Trading Corporation KNTC, and went ahead in January to sign a contract with KNTC to supply 112,700 metric tons of various fertilizers sourced from a Norwegian company named Yara. Shortly after, Mashambani Farm Inputs Eldoret started making suspicious transactions, a move that raised alarm among financial sector regulators. For instance, barely 3 weeks after signing the contract, Mashambani received some of the payment from KNTC. Thereafter, the farm sent over 320 million shillings to an individual named Mr. Alfred Rono, claiming that the money was for the purchase of packaging bags, which turned out to be false because the fertilizer comes already packaged. A Mashambani proprietor, namely George Kibet, firmly stated that no local company had the capacity to package such an amount of fertilizer, and also denied that the farm purchased packaging bags. It was also discovered that the wholesale prices quoted by Mashambani were higher than those KNTC negotiated for. Just to mention, microbe top dressing was going for 5,400 shillings per 50 kilograms bag, but had been negotiated for 6,150 shillings, an inflation of 750 shillings per bag. Another major scandal that hit the Kenya Kwanza government was the one involving the self-proclaimed businesswoman Anjeri, who stood at the center of a contentious 17.2 billion shillings oil consignment. In this scandal, the self-proclaimed businesswoman Anjeri allegedly imported 100,000 metric tons of diesel worth 17 billion shillings, which was to be sold to any party that was willing to buy from her. A scandal that took several twists. For instance, Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir claimed that the businesswoman forged documents and was not the owner of the consignment, since her company, ANS Import and Export Enterprises Limited, was not even licensed to import petroleum. CS Chirchir went ahead to state that ANS company had not signed the open tendering system agreement and therefore could not claim to have imported a diesel cargo into the country, and that the oil cargo belonged to Galana Energies Limited, an agent for international oil companies that supplied 85,000 metric tons of diesel, therefore dismissing Anjeri's 100,000 tons of diesel claims. Did the fuel belong to ANS Import and Exports Enterprises Limited or the company registered as Galana Energies? Now, on March this year, the government announced a tender where government-owned international oil companies were to bid for the supply of petroleum products on a 180-day deferred payment terms and a contract period of 270 days, which was awarded through three Arab firms identified as Emirates National Oil Company, famously known as ENOC, Saudi Aramco, and Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC. Kenyan companies that were selected to receive the oil and in turn supply it to other local oil marketers included Galana Oil Kenya Limited, Gulf Energy Limited, and Oryx Energies Kenya Limited. Ms. Njoroge's An Import and Exports Enterprise Limited was nowhere in the list, but she, however, insisted to be the rightful owner of the fuel consignment. Anjeri caught the attention of many, including Azimio leader Raila Odinga, who openly casted doubt on Ms. Anjeri's financial capacity. Interestingly also, Anjeri's mother claimed to have not seen her daughter for the past 6 years and had no idea she was as wealthy as she claimed. Theo Masharia for KUTV.